Welcome to Design Domination, where you'll learn to become a better, more business-savvy designer so you can dominate your competition. Hi, and thanks for tuning in. I'm Colleen Grotzer, and in this episode of Design Domination, I'm talking about using I versus we when talking to prospects and clients. Stick around to find out what to consider with both of them, such as, are you misrepresenting yourself if you use we? Will potential clients prefer just you or a team? Will you not get larger projects if you use I? Generally speaking, there are so many more solopreneurs now that I think this has become less of an issue, but it's still an issue nonetheless. The question of should you, as a freelancer or sole proprietor, use I or we when talking about yourself and your business is one that I see brought up time and time again, even as recent as this past week by freelance designers. That single pronoun can affect so much. How you're perceived by prospects and clients, how you talk to prospects and clients, what you say on your website, what you write for social media. Now, you could use your business name, when talking about yourself and your business instead of a pronoun. But then when you talk to clients and write copy for your website and social media posts, it'll just sound awkward and totally impersonal. You'd always be talking about yourself and your business in the third person. For the first several years after officially starting my business, I struggled with this question. And I remember vividly the circumstance that provoked me to even realize that it was an issue. I was on my honeymoon out of the country, and I had been waiting to hear back about a media kit job. Now, this was back before Wi-Fi, and I had to go hook up my laptop to an Ethernet cable in the resort's office and all. It's a lot of work, but I digress. I went to check my email and saw the long-awaited email from the man at the company that I had just met with a few days prior. And he said he had chosen someone else for the media kit design. So I wrote back and asked why I hadn't been selected for the work. And his response really outraged me. I'll never forget it. He said it was because I didn't have staff. What? Why would I even need to have staff to do a media kit design? That's ludicrous. I was handling the editing and layout of a 150-page monthly medical journal in addition to so many other design jobs, all while working a full-time job. So a media kit was small potatoes. But he didn't see it that way. So that's when I started thinking about using I versus we. And it really bothered me because for years I couldn't decide which direction to go in. I even consulted with industry veteran Cameron Foote about it. So let's go over some pros and cons with both of them. Here are some reasons that you might want to use we. Well, number one is we can make your freelance business sound bigger and more serious. Maybe you'll get larger jobs as a result. Maybe a client is willing to pay more to a business with a team rather than just an individual. Number two is we can make you appear more professional. If you're a we, then in the client's mind, you likely have set working hours, you actually get dressed before working, and you're on some kind of a schedule, as opposed to their perception of you being a fly-by-night freelancer who works in pajamas and gets back to them whenever you feel like it. Number three is that larger or more corporate type clients may want to work with a we, not an I. They may see an individual as not as dependable as a team. Number four is sort of a we, and that's the business name that you decide on. If you choose something that uses your first and last name, that could potentially decrease the sales worthiness of your business in the future. So that's just something to keep in mind. Okay, so why wouldn't you want to use we? A freelancer who represents themselves as we can actually have negative effects. So let's say that you've represented yourself as we, and now the prospect thinks that you're bigger than you are. The prospect then talks or meets with a few other design firms, not freelancers, but firms, because oftentimes they're talking to just freelancers or just firms. So they talk or meet with you and then these other firms, and they're going to ask all of you to provide pricing. Well, you very likely will have lower pricing than the firms that you've just been pitted against. And when you have lower pricing than those that you're up against, the prospect might think that you're not well suited for the job and that you don't understand the scope of the work. They're not usually thinking that they're going to get a deal if they choose you. Now, I know this because I've been in this exact situation several times. I was turned down for the very reason that my pricing was lower than those I was up against, and that prospect perceived that I didn't understand the work. Now, I know that was the case because they questioned me about my price. They said, "Why is your pricing so much lower than the other two? The other two are in the same range and yours is much lower." I mean, as if I would know anyway. I mean, I have no idea what was in their proposals. I did say, though, that I had very low overhead, probably much less than those firms. Well, that did not matter. So, yeah, they told me my lower pricing was the reason I did not win the work. A second reason to not use we is if you're a solo designer doing all the work, because using we detracts from the full credit that you deserve to give yourself. For example, a prospect or a client could compliment your work. If you've been weeing all the way home, then you really can't take all the credit, right? Even though that credit is due to you and you alone. So let's talk about why you would use I. I can be a unique selling point. So while we can make you sound bigger than you might be, I is more one-on-one and more personal with the client. Many prospects are looking to work with an individual and not go through a project manager or art director, like they would at a design firm. They just might prefer that. But if they made a connection with you prior to working with you, like on the sales call, they might want to maintain that by working with you, not someone that you delegate to work with them. And if your business name is your first and last name, then using we could come across as inauthentic, unless you do indeed work with others. Now, why not use I? Well, one, the prospect or client may feel they can negotiate pricing. Number two is the prospect or client may think that you'll be more flexible in your schedule with them, like that you might be okay talking to them after hours. And number three is if you're a solo designer with a team, then using I can really alienate your team, those who support your business and its success. So let's talk about authenticity. Both I and we have their own unique advantages. But besides the issue of perception, there's also the issue of authenticity. Do you feel like you're lying to clients if you say we? Will prospects distrust you if you use we? So here are some points to think about. You could change up using I or we, depending on the size of the client and their needs. If you're a solo designer who never outsources work to anyone else, then you can just own being an I and then sell clients on getting that more personal approach. Now, if you're a solo designer who outsources or partners with colleagues occasionally, then you can go either way. Either would be authentic. You're an I in certain situations and a we in others. For instance, maybe you would need to subcontract out or partner with a colleague for a website where you will design it and they will develop it. In that case, it's accurate to say we. Whatever route you decide to go in, you really need to just be confident in that and ready with an answer when a prospect asks if you're solo or not, because they often do ask. And your lack of clarity on this issue or lack of confidence can result in distrust on their part. So if you're confident about it and you own that, you own the fact that you're a one-person business, then that will build trust with the right clients that you want to attract. I'd love to hear from you. So which pronoun do you use and why? Let me know in the Design Domination Facebook group by emailing me at info@creative-boost.com, by posting a comment on the episode page, or on Instagram or Twitter. If you liked this content, please leave a review and share it on social media. Do you need help enhancing your design skills or working through a freelancing issue? Go to creative-boost.com to apply for design mentoring. Also check out the free resources and join us in the Design Domination Facebook group.